adjust this light, it's just going to be simply 2100 lumens. So yeah, I'm going to actually tie a bolt snap on. I'm going to get a glove for this guy, and we're going to take it out with a student today, see how it does underwater, and then I'll give you some final thoughts near the end of the video. Alright guys, so here we are at the beginning of the dive. I've got my light. I've also got a 1000 lume light there on my left hand to compare it with, which we'll go over during the dive. And originally I was going to put the OrcaTorch D800 in a glove mount. Unfortunately, I had a little issues with my dry glove, which I'll talk about a little bit later towards the end of the video, the issues I had. But we're going to go ahead and zoom forward here a little bit. We're going to get down to depth, and we're going to see just how good this light actually does. So here we are, we're in about 30 to 35 feet of water, and you'll notice that the video is starting to get a little bit green. I purposely did not put a filter on our camera system because I wanted to also test the light as a camera light. Now the D800 unfortunately is just a flashlight. It's not going to be the best light for camera work. However, if you are needing a camera light, look at the OrcaTorch D500 Plus, which is a video light. I have found that it ends up being one of the best video lights out there. But the D800 here is actually doing a very, very good job. We're in about 20 to 25 foot of visibility where we're diving at now, and that 2100 looms of the OrcaTorch D800 is just absolutely cutting through all the muck and grime that's in the water. Alright, now we're in about 50 to 55 foot of water here. This is a car, or it's actually a little Ford SUV that is in one of our local quarry systems. This was actually used in the TV show Shots Fired on Fox, if you've ever seen that. This was actually where a particular scene was filmed, and this was the car that was used, and this ends up being its final resting place. But the 2100 looms, as you're getting closer, you know, and it's a given that if you're going to be that close to an object, 2100 looms obviously is going to be way too much, but you could see there was a lot of glare there, and so that just kind of reinforces the fact it's not going to be the best video light, but as a dive light in general, it's definitely a great light. If you look real close there, you'll notice there's actually two beams. You're going to have your main spot beam, and you're also going to have a flood beam, and that comes from the head design alone. So it's going to work good to see things up close and of course far away as well. Alright guys, so now we're in about 75 feet or so, and I've actually handed the light off to my dive buddy. This is actually one of my deep diver students, and I wanted him to try it out. And there's a great example right there. You can actually see the double beam. You're going to have a spot beam and a flood beam, so it's really going to be helpful to cut through all the turbidity in the water and still give you some good light to be able to see with. Once again, I wasn't using a filter on my camera here just because I wanted to see what the light would pick up as far as video quality goes, and though it's not going to be the best video light for you, just as an all-around good dive light, so far I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing out of this light. Alright guys, so we're still in that 75, maybe 80 foot depth range now, and I'm actually going to do a comparison. The light that you're seeing from the right hand side of the screen, that's the D800. The one that just came in from the top of the screen, that's one of my other dive lights that I use a lot, and that's actually 1000 looms. So I wanted to see if that D800 at 2100 looms would actually overpower the 1000 lume light, and it's actually doing a pretty good job. You can see that the 1000 lume light was more just a direct spot, if you will, but with that double beam from that D800, it was lighting up that whole alligator there and not just the head of it. Alright guys, now we're right at that 100 foot mark. This is the bottom of one of our local quarries, and as you can tell, the visibility is just black. We maybe have a foot of visibility of that, but the D800 is literally cutting through every single bit of that. You can actually see quite a bit of the turbidity, which are just basically the suspended particles that distort our vision when we're underwater, and that D800 is really just sticking out. My student is actually using the camera here filming me, and he's probably about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 feet away, and of course I don't have the light shining back at him. I have the light shining out in front of me, and you can see just how powerful that 2100 looms is. Even in about a foot of visibility, it's increasing my viz up to say that 3, 4, maybe even 5 foot mark.
Alright, in this last clip, guys, I wanted to just see what it would do if I was to use the OrcaTorch D800 as a video light. So I've actually got my camera mounted to an extension pole, and I've got the light actually mounted up underneath the pole itself in the same direction that the camera's pointing, and I wanted to see if the overall flood beam would work well enough as a camera light. Now here is where I wasn't really impressed with the D800. Although it's not a video light, I was really hoping that the flood beam would come into play and be a good video light source. Unfortunately, it's not. The good thing is OrcaTorch does make the D500 Plus, which is a video specific light, so I think it would be a lot better than the D800 in this particular type of situation. Alright, so as we're coming to the end of the dive here, I gotta be honest, I'm very impressed with how the light is actually working for me underwater. There are some downfalls to it, which I'll talk about at the end of this video, but all in all, I'm very impressed with the OrcaTorch D800 and the 2100 looms that it gives you. As far as runtime, this dive here was about an hour long, so in general, that light stayed good for a solid hour. I'm going to use it actually on another dive too and continue to test this light, but so far I'm actually very pleased with the runtime and just how well this light really does.
Alright guys, so here's my final thoughts. The OrcaTorch D800 is an awesome light. I really love the 2100 looms of this light. I mean, that thing just really punched out through the dark, and it really worked well for me. I like the fact that it's kind of a dual beam. It is a spot beam, and it is also kind of a flood beam. A couple of the downsides, and I mentioned this earlier in the video that I'd talk about the downsides. I really don't want to leave those out because I think you as a consumer really need to know about it. One of the biggest downsides that I wasn't impressed with was how you turned it on and off. I don't mind a light that twists the head on and off, but I didn't really like it being back here. So maybe if the newer version, if they make a new version of the 800, maybe if they get it to where the head twists on and off versus the back of it twisting on and off, because I found it a little difficult. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to a light that twists on and off here, and that might have been the issue that I was having. I just wasn't used to coming back here, but that was kind of a tick that I just didn't like about it. Another thing, initially I wanted to use a glove system. Basically a glove system just goes over your hand here, and a light mounts into it. I like the fact that the shaft of the light is actually small enough that I can mount it here in the glove. But I didn't use it in the video, and there's a couple of reasons I didn't do that. First of all, typically with a glove type system, I'll always zip tied or tied off with the lanyard back here in the back with the glove. That way I can turn everything on and everything's going to be fine, and it doesn't actually twist the light. Well, the issue that I was having is to be able to manipulate that to where it doesn't, say, connect into my watch or anything like that, and to where I could connect it, I had to pull it all the way up here to do it. So it's not really that big of a deal. The problem is I don't have much utility out of my hand at that point. If I need to grab on something, the light was actually hitting. So for the glove itself, I wasn't too impressed with that as well. Plus, trying to get back here to turn that, it just wasn't really comfortable for me. The other issue that I had with it is to make it comfortable. If you slide the light all the way back, this is a little, or actually it's a lot more comfortable for me, and I still got full use of my hands. I can grab on stuff. I can